All right, hello and welcome to my first build guide of the season. Maybe my only, but that's to be determined. So this is the Thorns Paladin kind of slash Forge Guard, because it can also be a Forge Guard, and the difference between the two seems minimal to the point where I'm not entirely sure which one is actually quote unquote better, because they really are just that close. There's very minor benefits from either one of them. But I'll be playing the Paladin today. That's the one I've kind of decided to go with. And so I'm going to show it. We're going to do an Echo, and then we're going to do a boss. Then I'll get into like how the build actually works and whatnot. But I will preface this with the basic thing, because at first when you see it, you're going to be like, what is going on? This makes no sense. Why are things just falling over? If you haven't seen like the Reflect Shamans out there, Reflect Druids, you won't understand. If you have, then you will. And we'll talk later about the difference between this and those particular builds. But it's based around the Thicket of Blinding Light, which every half second deals damage to any enemy that is looking at you based upon your damage reflected stat. It also gives up to 401% more damage reflected to bosses and rare enemies. Along with the Thorn Shell, it becomes a very, very high damage ability. And it does screen wide clear to the extent that I can literally just stand here. Gotta get him to come out first. Come on out. Come on, guys. I know you're scared, but you can do it. Here we go. I can stand here. They're just gonna die. And maybe someone will get off an ability and I'll have to do like rebuke. This guy actually cheats a lot. He's actually gonna kill me because he's cheating so hard. This guy cheats because there's a bug with the thing where he has a bubble around him for like distant enemies. It just always considers you distant. So he's a cheater, but the rest of them like are just gonna die. By the way, this is at over 1,000 corruption. And you see I've juiced up these arenas too. This is another bubble guy. They're like the only thing that even gives it like a minor bit of issue, other than like the stuff that's kind of bugged in the game right now, because some things are doing way too much damage. But the rest of this stuff is like not even a problem. So we actually got insanely unlucky on that one, getting that one guy we did and allowing him to get close to me. Normally nothing gets in. And I might use one rebuke. So that was like the worst case scenario for that arena, and we were still fine. So now we'll do a boss as well. Attack abilities makes them spawn immediately. That's good to know, actually. Alright, so we'll just break these down. Again, this is 1,009 corruption, so like I'm not cheesing it by showing you 100 corruption build or anything like that. Like we pushed to 1,000 corruption before we made the guide. I'll just rebuke through that, no problem. Rebuke through this, no problem. I'm only attacking to build my damage reduction and improve my cooldown on rebuke. So it's all defensive. All the offensive stuff is literally just like standing in front of the enemy. You stand in front of the enemy and they take damage because they're going to look at you. So that's the gameplay. It's also very fast. I won't finish this, but just to show you, you don't just have to stand around. So like if I run through a regular Echo, I can literally just run through it. I don't have to fight anything. Sometimes you might stop for tankier stuff, but they're just going to fall over. It's just, everything's just going to fall over. There's nothing they can do about it, because they have to look at you or else they'll not be able to deal any damage. And yeah, actually, we can just finish this now. This is the last one. There you go. That's it. Okay, so how's it work? So, we mentioned Thicket of Blinding Light, Thorn Shell. So we have to build reflect damage, and this just deals the damage. Thorn Shell gives us 9% increased flat damage reflected to attackers per attunement. So this is a multiplier of the flat damage. And then we just build reflect damage wherever we can, and attunement wherever we can. So you might notice our idols are like kind of silly looking. It's because of 150 damage reflected to attackers on each one of these idols. And then we have like some reflect on our body armor, some reflect on our shield. I don't even have reflect on the body armor right now on this build. I think I have in the shield. I don't have block chance capped either. But yeah, we're just building attunement and wherever we can. Damage reflect to attackers if we can. And physical resistance is nice too, because we do get 17 per 10. That's not a very good like ratio though, when you consider like you get 150 just on one single idol. So that's not a primary scaler, but it does also scale Apostate Sanctuary, which we use to build up just an absolute ton of ward when we are rebuking. So it is a nice scaler, and we do want to scale it. Just it's like a tertiary thing to the other two. Just to show you all what my gear looks like, so you know I'm not like insane. I do have pretty good gear. I actually forgot to have an idol on there because I had a needle in there. I do have pretty good gear, but I have some idols that are like way below capped. I think I have like 1 capped, yeah, and some are under 100. I have a okay thorn shell. Like it doesn't have any reflect on it, and its block chance is only a tier 5 or 6, tier 6, and it's a low roll tier 6. I have it just a 1 LP thicket, and I think it's that's tier 6 as well. So like some of my gear is good. This Army of Skin is like pretty bad. This is good. I don't have red rings yet. I haven't dropped one yet. Kind of a crappy Strand of Souls. Like my gear is definitely not nearly top tier. Like it can get a lot better and will if I play longer for sure. So I don't need that to get to this point. And really there hasn't been any significant struggle the entire process. Once I picked up the body armor, once I picked up the shield, we were good to go. So those are your 2 number 1s. Pick those up. Everything else is damage reflect, attunement, physical resistance where you can, and everything beyond that is just gravy. So we do build ward through like Vessel of Strife, and of course through Apostate Sanctuary. They're also not necessary. Like you're going to be really, really tanky if you use Rebuke properly. Why is Rebuke so good in this build, by the way? And also this should not be on here. I don't know why it is. Why is Rebuke so good? Because you can continue to deal damage when you use Rebuke. Because you're just standing there and channeling Rebuke, but enemies are looking at you, and the shield doesn't, or the body armor doesn't care what you're actually doing. It just cares if something's looking at you. And so this is maybe the only build that can deal damage while you're rebuking, which is what makes it so insanely tanky, that you don't have to like decide between dealing damage and rebuking to not take damage. Rebuke, by the way, is an 80% reduction in the damage you take. Also has that crazy amount of ward gen, so like it's almost impossible to kill you through Rebuke. I don't think I've died when I've been channeling Rebuke yet. And I've tanked some of the craziest stuff. So like tier 4 Jorah's thing, you can tank that. You do have to cleanse because she puts a dot on you. You can tank everything that basic Aberoth does. I haven't tried this yet in Uber Aberoth, so I haven't got the gear up there yet. Pretty much just about any enemy attack. I think the exception right now might be some of the I'm printing their names now. Some of these guys, the Harbingers, because they're actually bugged. Every enemy in the game is technically bugged right now and dealing more damage, but the closer they are to a level 100 enemy baseline, like that's the first time you see them, the more damage they are dealing at higher corruption, and these guys are just doing insane amounts of damage right now. I think there's a few of them that can actually kill me through Rebuke, but they'll fix that in like the next patch, and then it's not going to be the case anymore. So this can tank pretty much everything in the game. It tanks the I-beam from Lagon, etc., etc. So that's what makes this build special. Let's compare it to like the Reflect Shaman and Reflect Druid. So the Reflect Shaman on Maxwell Lizard Maid, Lizard's awesome. Pros and cons, compare the two. Why am I comparing these? Because I know Lizard's build really well, and I know what he does really well with them. Like I know what he did really well with this one. I know where this one is better and where I might have an advantage. So in this particular build, it deals more damage, and it does so because of Thorn Shield. Thorn Shield gives, I think in this setup, 200 additional thorns per stack, and if you stand there and cast Thorn Shields over and over again, you can get like 40-50 stacks of it. That's a lot of extra reflect damage. So this build absolutely has a higher top end on damage. I don't believe has the same top end on defense, because Rebuke is just absolutely insane. There is nowhere else you can get 80% damage reduction. So the Paladin should be tankier, and the Paladin is faster than this build because you can use Shield Rush, and in this particular build, you don't have access to like any movement ability, so you have to walk everywhere you go. There is a similar build to Lizards that uses Druid, instead of Shaman. That one can access Werebear, and then it can Rampage, which is a similar ability to Shield Rush. That one should be able to be as fast as the Paladin. I have seen videos of it. It is not as fast, but I think that's the way they're building them. By the way, if you're going to play this and you're going to try to go fast, there are some adjustments you can make. Like Foot of the Mountain is not the best option for speed. You can go with a faster unique that has a lot more move speed baseline. And then tier 7 move speed on it, you can get to like 70+%, which is what I'm running right now. This is more for top end defense and getting that extra all attributes. But yeah, you have a lot of like flexibility with whether you want to go fast or whether you want to be maximum tankiness on this build. And like there's no wrong answer, it just depends on what you're doing. And really it's basically just add some move speed in, and now you're literally a speed running build, because you are screen wide clearing everything. It's just a matter of how fast you can do it, which is only determined by how fast you can move from point A to point B. So probably the best speed like running build in the game right now. The only thing that would make me pause on that is it doesn't have the top end move speed like capability of something like a rogue. And so if a rogue can screen clear, it will probably be a little bit faster than this. I'd actually would say there's probably going to be a rogue reflect build that's going to be just absolutely nutty as far as speed goes. It's just going to be insanely fast. But that's the crazy thing about this body armor, is you can use it on just about anything right now, because the idols are not class specific, the shield's not class specific, the body armor's not class specific, getting attunement's not class specific. So there's nothing that says you can't do one over the other. And so then it comes down to like, well, Druid can get a little more Thorns damage because of Thorn Shield. So that one does have the top end damage over everything else. But this does so much damage anyway that you don't necessarily need it. And so you can kind of choose to put it on whatever class you want, which is why I went with a Sentinel for Rebuke, so that I could be basically as tanky as possible in a way that I couldn't do in any other build. That's funny, Johnson. So that's the long and short of it. I'm not going to go through like every detail of this. This is not a perfect build, but it has been tweaked a lot. For example, one thing that I've actually changed multiple times, going back and forth with like weapons. I started with Monument of Protection, ended up back there. At one point we were doing a two-hander with Forge Guard to get higher uptime on Rebuke, because Rebuke has a node that allows you to get cooldown recovery per like melee attack from a different ability, and it's doubled for a two-handed weapon. I found that was unnecessary, that it kind of comes back fast enough that like there's very few fights in the game to where you need the extra cooldown. And so we ended up back into Paladin, where we were running Hazel Root, which Scepter. Here we go. We were running Hazel Root to get our own access to Thorn Shield, but it's like we only get 50 per, and it was scaling like 3 or 4. It's like that's one idol. It's not really worth it, and the actual Thorn Shield itself doesn't scale with reflect damage, so it's always 50. And then it was providing like 150 total reflect to the body armor. It's like that's just not really worth it. So we ended up going to Monument of Protection, which gives us additional block chance and block effectiveness. That's the primary reasons we're using it. The endurance is nice to have as well, as is the health gain on block, but it's the block chance, block effectiveness. So we don't need any damage here. In fact, no damage does us any good. I should definitely mention that this does not scale with any other damage types. Like increase generic damage doesn't work. Increase more damage doesn't work. So like Apostate Sanctuary has on it 14% more damage to bosses and rare enemies, not actually giving us more damage. We're not wearing it for that reason. We're only wearing it for the ward per second per uncapped Fizz res while channeling Rebuke. So we don't have any reason to scale damage anywhere else. The melee attack speed is just a nice way to make sure that that we're getting our Rebuke cooldown as fast as possible. The chill and slow are like kind of, I guess, obvious. Chill especially, since it's causing the enemy to attack less often. But any sort of increased damage that's not reflect damage, reflect damage, attunement, or in a lesser capacity physical resistance is a waste. It's not doing you any good. You're going to hit for like 30 damage with Vengeance. It's not going to do you anything. So yeah, those are the 3 damage scares we want, so everything else can kind of go in defense, and that's part of the reason why this build can get so incredibly tanky and like literally sit in some of the most powerful attacks in the game. And hopefully it can handle Uber Aberoth. I was a little underwhelmed with the damage on regular Aberoth. I feel like that Aberoth might have an additional damage reduction layer that this isn't going through, because it does go through the regular damage reduction that enemies get per area level. It doesn't care about that at all. That's why this scales. If it did, it wouldn't work, but because it does, it works. I feel like Uber Aberoth might have some sort of additional damage reduction because he wasn't dying as fast as I wanted. He wasn't dying slow, quote unquote, but compared to a lot of builds, it was pretty slow. And obviously Uber Aberoth has a lot more health. So that fight could take a long time. So we need to make sure that like this build can stand up even when it gets hit by something heavy. So that will be the big sort of challenge for it. I have some suspicion that it may be the case that a Primalist build might just be better for it because it will take less time. And so there will be fewer chances for it to make a mistake, and that build is still very tanky. But we'll just have to see. For now though, I do think this build can do it. I think you need to get the gear up there, and then it'll just take a little bit. But for all the other content in the game, it just blows it away. Just annihilates it. Absolute just blistering fast speed farmer even at 1k corruption. And so if you like that sort of thing, this is your build. Just make some modification, add some move speed, and you're gonna fly. Okay, I think that's it for this build guide. I will of course post the planner in the comment section, and hopefully you enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great time in LE, and I'll see you all again real soon.